Hi there, I'm Craig, head instructor of Ottawa Swordplay, and today I want to talk a little bit about handedness in our system of sword fighting and our interpretation of that system and a few things related to that. So the first thing that I want to address is the general question of should a left-handed person fight left-handed? And for that one, I'm going to go to the manuscripts which explicitly tell us, yes, a left-handed person should fight left-handed. And they talk a little bit about how that's different, not nearly enough to make me happy. They don't give us very much information on it, but they do basically say a left-handed person should fight left-handed, or more to the point, they say a left-handed person should strike from their left, following the strike with their left foot, just after they said that a right-handed person should strike from their right and follow their strike with their right foot. So I feel that that's pretty explicit. Just in terms of our overall interpretation, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on this, the fact that they don't give us much more than that to me suggests to me that if you are left-handed, you should be able to do the same techniques with as few changes as possible, or few enough changes that they didn't feel the need to describe it as a completely different way of doing things. So in our interpretations, we always look for the left-handed version that requires the least change from the right-handed version. Left versus right does, a left-handed fighter versus a right-handed fighter does produce some extra challenges, and often left-handed people end up developing an advantage because they are used to fighting right-handed people. And I think it's important for both right-handed and left-handed people to get used to fighting each other. Now, the next thing is there ever a time when you should switch handedness? And I occasionally do. However, the main time that I change handedness is if I'm fighting a left-handed person. I'm right-handed, I will switch to a left-handed grip and do all the same techniques left-handed against a left-hander. Because for me, even though I'm not as good left-handed as I am right-handed, I do better against a left-handed person if I'm fighting with the familiar angles. That said, I've developed pretty good techniques for fighting still as a right-handed person. There is some reason why you might want to change. One of the weird things about left-handed people developing an advantage fighting against right-handed people is that often left-handed people are terrible at fighting other left-handed people. So if you're a right-handed person who can switch to left-handed, that's great. That said, if you are a novice and you are right-handed, learn to fight right-handed well. And then once you have some good foundations, start just trying to do the same thing left-handed. Do not switch back and forth in the middle of training sessions, especially when you're starting out, because you will just confuse yourself. It is better to get good at fighting on one side and then transfer those skills to fighting on the other side than to try and get good at fighting on both sides. That is my personal opinion. But I have many years of experience of teaching people, and the people who insist on switching back and forth early always have struggled to learn. Yeah, there's other challenges that go along with that, but that is what I believe. Get good on one side, and then learn to transfer the skills. And the same thing, if you're left-handed, I wouldn't recommend switching to right-handed just to help your partner out when you're still learning. Learn left-handed and give them the opportunity to learn to fight a left-handed person. Now, the other follow-up about should I be switching hands is, should you ever switch hands in the middle of a fight? And the answer to that is absolutely not, except sort of sometimes when you should. I have another video that you can watch about how we shift our grip on the sword. And I talk a lot about how we also shift our grip on the spear. So when I'm holding the sword like this, the main way that I would switch to a more left-handed type stance is by switching to half swording. And this is not very much like this, really, except for that it does let us finish in kind of that same position. When we look at a spear, this is my half swording or half spear or armored combat spear grip. And we do have techniques where we switch to a grip more like we see with the sword. And because the spear is so long, this ends up looking a lot more like a left-handed grip. And it is a lot more like a left-handed grip, but it's not. It's half sworded. Same is true for a few other weapons, especially like the poleaxe, quarterstaff. Quarterstaff is totally symmetrical, so that one is exceptionally true. But in general, I wouldn't want to see somebody switching their grip like this in the middle of a fight, especially if you're ever doing fighting in armor. You're just going to drop your weapon, and it becomes confusing very, very quickly. All right, so that's it for me on left-handed versus right-handed fighting.